First, let me begin by saying there's lots going on in our city. Obviously, our top priority and concerns are always public safety. They have been for quite some time. And clearly, based on the purchase of the Gibson Medical Center for our Gateway home, homelessness is followed close behind in our unsheltered community. But I think, as we've said repeatedly, we have to continue to run the city as a whole. That means doing things in addition to just public safety and dealing with our unsheltered populations. And so it's some basics, whether it's roads and stoplights and medians, or parks and community centers and facilities. And so one of the things that I've always been grateful for with respect to our administration and our council is that we understand that we have many things that we have to do, and we can do more than one thing at once. And so I know we are looking at a lot of major capital investments for our community, and that includes, as a reminder, the largest library in the city of Albuquerque going into the International District. That's slated, I think, at about $17 million. That's finally going to open this fall. We have another community center in the Singing Arrow neighborhood. We have another community center out in Westgate. And so we also geographically have to talk about different projects in different areas of the city. And that brings us to the Northeast Heights and to our Domingo Baca multi-use facility. And so that's right. So what we're going to do here today, and I know we have some wonderful guests, what we'll do is kind of share some things, and we'll take some questions if the media has them, just out of respect for their time. And then we can let them go, and to the extent we have time, we can continue questions and so forth. But just want to let you know, we usually let the camera crew go first. So with that, let's talk about what is next up for Domingo Baca. First off, I was born and raised here in Albuquerque, and I remember when none of this existed. And so it's a credit to our past city councilors and mayors, now I think stretching at least 3 mayors back, who have continued to invest in Domingo Baca. It's really a crown jewel for the Northeast Heights, whether it's the skate park or these fields that I do still throw the football on occasionally, or it's our incredible multi-gen center in the new basketball stadium. That's not a stadium, basketball arena court that we have there right now. So I appreciate everyone's efforts in that, and my administration continues to do that. Today we're here to talk about the water components of that, and aquatic center, pool, and even a small thing for the kids and families with young kids. And I want to also state that I know for a community who's been involved in this project really is, I've heard, goes back to 2005. And I'm looking at, Pat Montoya is here with DMD. He's got his name on more plaques than anyone at the city, which is a credit to him, but he can tell you all the history. So our administration, we believe there is a way in the near future, emphasis on the word near, meaning the next few years as opposed to the next decade, to build an aquatic center right here at Domingo Baca. And we think, number one, we want to do it in phases. I think that's very important so we can have some progress for families and swimmers now, not just for families and swimmers 10 years from now. So we are very committed to phasing, and that's also why we wanted to share with you some different flavors of this project, and we'll tell you where we're at. So with that, let me, I think, first share just personally what we do have enough funding for already, and what we're essentially going to be able to start construction on very shortly is a little splash pad right here. And so that is meant to be a signal of what's to come, but also give especially elementary and even little kids who can't even get in the water somewhere to cool off in this area of town during the summer. And so thanks to efforts from a lot of folks, including Councilor Bassan, we're able to pull that off in the very near term. So we'll begin construction on that this fall. Now, let's talk about some visions for the Aquatic Center. I think number one is, as mayor, I'm committed to getting this done. Now, that does assume that I'll be around, so we'll just leave that for a separate discussion. But what we've been able to do is use the funding that we've gotten from the legislature and from city council and from our administration, working hard to scrounge up dollars. We have some actual plans that we can use to then ask for the rest of the funding. So just by way of where we're at now, of course, we've got $3 million in the CIP bonds that is coming up for vote this November. So very important to support all those bond issues. But I want to remind everyone there's lots of projects in there, including $3 million for this. And we also have $2 million in the APS bond cycle, which is it's on the same ballot. So there's $5 million right there. And of course, we have some funding that we've gotten from our wonderful area legislators for this in the past that we're able to use to begin the architectural renderings and the planning. That's always the first step. So basically what they have come up with is a couple of designs, and I know which one is the preferred, and it's my preferred too. But I think it's also important, you know, I do have a background in finance, and we just want to walk folks through the options. And this is the same way we handle any major construction project. So design A, which will help, and I appreciate our city team here. These are excellent career folks at the city who are also helping out holding these boards. So thank you for helping out. So design A right here, this is of course our most basic setup. And this would be an outdoor pool, and it is has some sort of specifics in terms of whether or not you can do Olympic capabilities and so forth. But this is obviously the cheaper, the faster, you know, shorter construction time, et cetera, et cetera. This would be an outdoor pool for just $12 million, about $12.5 million. And look, it'd be a tremendous asset for the city. And this, of course, includes an outdoor rec pool too, and the needed warm-up pool. So this is sort of the outdoor flavor of ice cream. It's cheaper and it's faster. Okay, now let's look at our next design. And our next design here is a little bit of a smaller pool. It's a 25-yard pool, and it's indoor. And again, understand the preferences, but we want to highlight some of the trade-offs here. This project comes in roughly at about $22 million, right? So, by the way, pools are not cheap. Pools actually are one of the most expensive things the city does, which is why we don't have pools all over the place and why they take a long time to build. And so this is very similar in some ways to what we have out on the west side out at West Mesa. We have a wonderful facility there, but it's not quite Olympic ready. And this one has a little bit smaller pool, but with a warm-up pool. And then, of course, we like the outdoor rec, again, for families. We want to make sure that this pool is something that obviously swimmers can use, and we respect that, even water polo, things like that. But we also got to make sure they're accessible for everyone, and that's why that family component is so important. Then we have Design C. So Design C has a bigger 50-meter pool. And you can see here, obviously, the size is basically double for that indoor component. Still an outdoor rec pool, which is pretty common for us. And again, that warm-up pool needed for competitions and swimming-related tourism, which just like all the other basketball or baseball-related tournament tourism, we're very excited about this concept because we also think it's an economic driver for regional tournaments for swimming. And the firm that put this together, by the way, does have examples of different other cities and so forth that can be available on request. So this one comes in at $30 million. So you can see we've gone from 12 to 22 to 30. So there are major cost differences in these proposals. Okay, and then I think one that we did want to show, and I think that design is sort of our Cadillac. To use some old school automobile terms. I don't even know if I guess they still make Cadillacs, but Oldsmobiles, they don't make anymore. So we'll call this the Oldsmobile now. So this one is an interesting hybrid model. This is an outdoor Olympic pool, so 50 meters, but it's outdoors. And so I just want to, again, compare the cost. It's much cheaper and faster. This setup would be $14 million. And so, again, the trade-off is just, and we know for outdoors they'd probably be covered, and we understand heating and things like this. The JCC is a good example of a well-used outdoor pool. But obviously, there are certain times and certain days when you can't use it. And Dave Simon's well-versed in this, having run the JCC, so he's going to talk about some of these specifics. But these are the 4 designs on the table, and, I think there's really some clear trade-offs. One is how fast we want it done. The big one is how much money can we get from our partners at the legislature, at APS, and from additional work at the city. We know there's additional funding that's going to be available, and we're going to all have a good time carving that up in the fall. And this is certainly something on the table as one of our top tier projects we want to get done. So I'm going to wrap up my section by just saying that there's still a long road ahead. But the first step is legitimate designs and cost estimates. That's what we have. And then it's about putting together a fundraising package and also listening to the community. Do you want to wait a little longer, raise a little more money for the Cadillac, or do we want to move faster? Those are important pieces we'll work with the community on. And I think, but Dave is going to walk through the details on this, but let me invite up our Councilor Bassan. She's passionate about this project, And I think in this area has been a great partner. And so I want to thank her for appreciating the design and architecture steps we have to go through, but also not losing sight of the goal, which is we don't want to wait another 10 years for a pool out here. And so that's what we certainly agree on. So Councilor, come on up. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, and thank you, Mayor, for setting this up and for having all of us here today. Can we please put option C back? It really is painful to see anything but option C. So, so thank you. I want to reiterate what the mayor said. We do have about $7 million already in the bucket, right? So we're working on making sure that we come up with the remaining funding in order to complete North Domingo Baca Aquatic Center. I definitely think the Cadillac is what the community has expressed interest for. When I campaigned, there were 3 things that people wanted. They wanted a reduction in crime, a reduction in homelessness, and when are we getting our pool? So I'm very thankful that the administration is really backing this and seeing how important it is for District 4. And most importantly, I believe that the residents in our community are now seeing that this is gaining momentum. So thank you to Hewitt Zollers for coming up with all of these different pre-design options. I can't wait to put this into formal design, which I believe we will be able to do very soon. I think that it's also important to say we've had one community meeting already, and we are going to have another community meeting, and everyone is invited. It will be on Zoom, so that'll be convenient for a lot of people on next Tuesday, the 31st at 6 p.m. so that we can get input, making sure that we are doing the right thing for the city, for the residents, for the families, for students, for children, for seniors, for everybody in between, because this is indeed going to be a pool that accommodates everybody. So option C is definitely preferred. I know that I am willing to work and continue working very, very actively, quickly, and strongly with everybody to collaborate to get funding, but I also want to make sure it's so exciting, Mayor. You got to say like the exciting news that the APS school board did approve to put on the ballot in November on their CIP. They put on the ballot $2 million for our pool. And this is a new thing. APS hasn't really been willing to put in money on city projects in a long time, if ever. I don't know. But we have people coming to the table, seeing the importance for equity in the Northeast Heights, for making sure we have a community pool and access so that we can make sure to collaborate and be safe while providing these fun and exciting opportunities for everybody in between. So I'm sure I have a ton more to say, but this is not my gig. So reach out, make sure to go and look at the North Domingo Baca Aquatic Center.com, a website that was created by our constituency and the residents that are truly invested and committed in what they want. You can see and learn a whole bunch of what they're doing and why they want it, and you can even join in too. And I'm really excited about all of these new water features, and I promise you I'm going to work hard to get more funding and get this done sooner than later so we don't have to wait another 10 years. Thank you.
Okay, and we're very fortunate in our city. The department heads are really the most important people at the city. No disrespect to my counselor or myself. But no, I have to tell you, elected officials, whatever, like the people who literally get things done are our department heads. And he's not talking today, but Pat's here. He builds everything, so he's Public Works. But Dave Simon is responsible for all our pools in addition to our parks. So when we say broadly Parks and Rec, just for these folks, that also means all our aquatic facilities. And so we're fortunate to have him. He used to run Game and Fish, then he ran the JCC, and now he's running all our parks facilities and aquatics facilities for the city. So with that, let me bring up Dave Simon.
Thank you, Mayor. I kind of just believe what the mayor said is we're only really as good as the folks we surround ourselves with, and that's our staff, Mayor, and we're very fortunate to have very dedicated, hardworking, talented staff throughout the city in our department and every department. So that's how we work together to get it all done. And I'm very grateful for the strong support of the mayor and Councilor Bassan for parks in general, as well as their very important work on North Domingo Baca Park and this specific aquatic complex project. It's going to be a signature project for the city that will endure for generations and be a very, very important addition to the improvement to the quality of life in our community. And what's wonderful about it is, it gets to be embedded in one of the crown jewel parks in our city. North Domingo Baca Park is a crown jewel in our park system. And over the last year, we've been able to make some progress on all kinds of improvements here at the park while we continue to keep our eye on the prize, which is, of course, the Aquatic Center. But just over the past 9 months, we've done a number of things here at the park to make it better for all Burqueños. We added a third Bocce Court earlier this year, which has been in play now for a long time down by the tennis courts. Just this past May, we constructed 2 vault restrooms in the park. They're located again near the tennis courts and the large athletic fields. And I could say, in addition to the Aquatic Center, these restrooms were long overdue. And they're probably the amenity in this park, second only to the pool, that has been most requested by users of the park for years. We have thousands of soccer and youth football, handball, and tennis players in this park. And now we actually have given them the basic facilities that this park needs. Other great improvements are coming to the park very soon. We have about $50,000 of planned improvements for the dog park down this direction. This is through state funding, but we have some new plantings in mind, some addressing of some erosion problems at the dog park, and no pun intended, we are going to add a lot of bark mulch into the park. That should all be done by the end of this year. And then last but not least, the long-awaited paving of what we call the east parking lot is teed up. This is a huge project to pave and stripe what's now a kind of an unfinished parking lot here, very important to the multi-gen center, and will be to the skate park and eventually important to the whole park, including the aquatic center. So all told, all of those investments that will be completed in the course of 2021, they total up to over $500,000 invested in North Domingo Park just this year. And that does not include the splash pad or obviously the aquatics complex, the larger aquatic complex. So the splash pad, the mayor didn't go through multiple options, but here it is. And this is an artistic rendering of what the splash pad feature would look like. Where essentially it would take up the space right behind me, about 2,500 square feet. As we know, these types of amenities are extremely popular with families and children. And I think it's going to just really fill in a great niche here between the skate park and the playground. It's just perfectly situated to allow tons of people. Right, so the splash pad will include a new restroom, sort of cabana feature, which will allow families to change out of their soaking wet clothing, which often happens around these fountain features, and also have modern restrooms for the public there too. And situated just in a great spot, Mayor, where it'll captivate and capture so many users of the park. And what we especially love about this too is we can deliver improvements and an aquatic feature to the public really fast. And that'll help, in a sense, give us that heat relief feature here in North Domingo Park really quickly. And we're looking forward to getting started on the project. We can't wait to get started on that project. And then, as the mayor mentioned, we're so excited to be moving ahead on the largest future project, the pool/aquatic center that the community has been asking for. So some rough timelines on all these projects. Most of the smaller improvements are either done or will be completed by the end of this calendar year. This fall, we anticipate maybe in October, groundbreaking on the fountain splash pad feature. As Councilor Bassan and the mayor mentioned, November, bond issues will go to the voters for approval. And particularly if we get that support from the public, which is very important funding for the aquatic center, then by late 2021, we should really be into full design of the pool. And, it's an elaborate project. So full design and construction drawings for a facility of this complexity will take about a year. And then once we have the design, construction drawings, the city would bid the project probably around late 2022, put out an RFP and accept bids on constructing the project. And then hopefully 2023, we'll be building an aquatic center. So that's an optimistic, but realistic and forward-thinking, leaned-in kind of timeline for getting these great projects done. And it will take all of us to do that. So we appreciate your support, Mayor and Councilor Bassan, and we look forward to getting to work.
All right, let's just see. I don't know if any of our media partners have any questions, but let me just check with them first. And thanks for helping out. So Jessica, if you want to see if anyone's got any
questions?
pretty straightforward stuff. Okay.